From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big day here on LALATE with your latest update about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. But I stand with Ukraine as we touch back on the latest developing details on the battleground in Ukraine against those acts of oppression from Russia. All the latest details today in this recording. We'll be cutting to the breaking news as great details come in as Ukrainian forces have been able to sustain and continue to hold control of its second major city, and that city is Kyiv. A major battleground unfolded last night, and Ukrainian forces are in complete control of that number 2 city in the country of Ukraine. Meantime, overnight, swift yanking Russia from its financial network. This is huge for millions of Americans because the situation is unfolding by the minute. We're going to start with your Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus recon, and the big money that Joseph Biden wants you to have at $2,000 of checks. And those checks are incredible. We'll be looking at the latest details on Build Back Better. CR for stimulus, we have less than just a few days away for this one. This is first up in line with $1.5 trillion in discretionary funds. We'll be looking at 2, 3, and 4.0, and then that SS 300 that could raise your benefits up $300 per month if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, and veterans benefits. In the second half of this video, we'll be cutting back to the latest developing details that impact your wallet out of Ukraine as the situation about oil, gasoline, the battleground, and humanitarian relief growing by the hour. I'll be looking at what the protests look like internationally in the last few minutes, and we'll be looking at what that impact is on inflation and your wallet going into the next week. A lot of breaking news happening in the last few minutes. I'm excited you're here, and boy, we have a big day across the board. We're going to go over your big money in your wallet first, and then we'll be going back to the latest developing details on the battleground in Ukraine. My hearts are with the people. I stand with Ukraine, and we'll have the latest details on that coming up in just a second. But first, we get to your big money as a big afternoons of Home LA starts right now from Santa Monica. Hey, good day, everybody. If you've never watched Home LALATE, it's a hybrid broadcast where the first part of the show goes over your money, and the second is usually home beauty, food, and decor. But now we're refocusing it a little bit, at least for today, again, on I Stand With Ukraine. We're going to have the latest details on what it is happening on the battleground and how it impacts your wallet at home across the land. But let's start with the Build Back Better Act for fourth stimulus recon. In this recording, CR for Stimulus 1.0, just a few days away from that will get a potential check in your hand, $2,000 with $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds. We'll be looking at SS 300. You know how home rocks and rolls. I go through it very fast. For more details on each of these incredible checks, stay tuned for afternoons and evenings LALATE coming up later today. But let's go right into the incredible Build Back Better Act for stimulus recon that is still getting done and is still going to pay you out a lot of money. This is the fourth stimulus recon and has at least $15,000 to $60,000 of checks in there for you, seniors, single, married, couples, middle class, low income. 3 classes of checks and 3 add-ons. Let's look at them right now. Hazard pay got in there. Yes, 1 more year. Earned income tax credit. Learn about it at irs.gov. Put under the third stimulus. 1 more year. The CTC. Goodness, love it. That is at $3,600 for young children. Got it in there. $4,000 of elder care. $4,000 of care for young children. The $550 check for the Pell Grant got in there. $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, and then the home repairs. There is 3 clusters of checks, but also 3 add-ons of checks in the Build Back Better Act, which we're still at right now for stimulus recon. And the first add-on everyone loves. It comes from here in Southern California, looking at the gorgeous beaches of Santa Monica, California, where it's actually warmer today. Jump on the live chat and tell me how the weather is where you are, if you're tuning in domestically or internationally. There is about $25,000 for the purchase of your first home in this Build Back Better Act. It is money that would be given to the seller in your name by the federal government at the time of escrow. Wow. In that second cluster checks that got in there, home repairs and paid leave. Paid leave is if you have to stay home from work due to sickness or illness. And it's a lot of money, folks. It is an incredible $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year, $35,000 annual salary, $800 a week, and $15,000 annual salary, $400 a week. It's a lot of money. W-2, 1099, you all get this incredible sums of money. The home repairs are this time around to weatherize your home to sustain natural disaster. And there you go. Now, the second add-on of checks is something you would think that is already part of our landscape. You would think it's already in the books, but it's not. And it's been added in there, $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. Amazing we don't have this as actually law yet. Campaign promise from Joe Biden got in there via Bob Casey. We're talking about for stimulus recon added in there. Let's turn to that third cluster checks, free internet and free money for other people. Those include the money for the farmers, independent contractors, then cheaper prescription medication, and then seniors. Seniors are getting really a lot of help in this third cluster, which we find as deliciousness. In that third cluster, we have in there seniors getting money for the hearing aid and the Medicaid gap fix. And then on the said side, getting dental, vision, and lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, which is par for the course of when we're talking about the third add-on of checks. Oh, you know what it is. Jump in the live chat, write it. Oh, you did. I see it. It is MSC. Forced Stimulus Recon has lots of checks in there. And those lots of checks into that Forced Stimulus Recon just keep on getting better by the moment. But MSC is a provision of checks that would be sent up from IRS to you, monthly IRS stimulus checks, that would be added in there across the board. So let's go over some of the nuances of who gets it, how much is it, how does it work? Well, it is a monthly stimulus check. $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months, the legislators represent, and the eligibility would be the same as a third stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 less annual income, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. Family of 4, you get a quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, you get as well. It is not income. It ain't taxable. It's offered nationwide, not state by state, and it goes off the most recent direct deposit tax return. So if you have a direct deposit account listed, then you get it. As one viewer said, my fiance says I have to pay it back. No, but return the engagement ring. There's still time. Why are you marrying someone who doesn't know what he's talking about? There you go. And that is MSC. Now, the way you get a check faster than MSC is you're part of this community, the Purple Power community, because we think outside the box. And in 2020, I thought outside the box. I was sitting back looking and saying, hey, you know what's wrong? We had seen second stimulus sit around for 11 months of negotiations and no deal. And so I said, we can't keep on doing this. You needed a second stimulus check in December 2020. So I said, where can I get our viewers a check sooner than a massive package? At the time, we were dealing with December 2020, a package, thousands of pages in length, partisan battles, no deal. And I found it. It's called a continuing resolution. And in December of 2020, I had the idea, the creation, the invention on this channel to insert a stimulus check into this thing called a continuing resolution. What is it? It's done every 3 to 6 months to fund the federal government. Inherent deadline, yeah. A couple days, few weeks, maybe a month, that's it. They don't roll it over. Then, bipartisan support, yes. Easy to pass, yes. So all you have to do is insert a stimulus check in there. And I came up with the idea. I created it. The Purple Power of the community of this channel pushed. And we made history. I made history. Americans got a $600 stimulus check because of me and this channel. And that went out because of you. But what also happened? Second stimulus fell apart. There never was a second stimulus package. No one ever got a check, and they never had a vote. Thank goodness. 3 weeks, no, I think it's now 4 weeks ago, I brought back CR for stimulus back on this channel. 1, 2, 3, and 4.0 has been birthed from it. 4 versions. The first one has really great news. We're going to go right into it right now. I'm not even going to delay. The CR for Stimulus 1.0 is lined up perfectly, but we got to finish strong. What is CR for Stimulus 1.0? It is another CR. And the latest CR is sitting with an inherent deadline of early March. It's a continuing resolution. And what do we have? 1, an early March deadline. 2, $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds included. Folks, $1.5 trillion is enough for a $2,000 stimulus check. Bipartisan support, yes. The price is negotiated by Republicans and Democrats over several weeks, House and Senate. So everything is perfect. And the strange wranglings of Thursday and Friday are gone, where the White House is trying to take some of the money for COVID and the restaurant union is trying to take some of the money. That's gone due to the great work by Patrick Leahy. So what's left? What's left is we have to make sure that with everything lined up perfectly, that they don't take the money and go build a park. We have to make sure that they spend the money on us. And that is why you need to advocate to those senators. And what do you advocate for? You're basically saying exactly what we're talking about in this recording. You got $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds in the continuing resolution of March. That's the simple words. $1.5 trillion discretionary spending in that continuing resolution early March. It's enough for a $2,000 stimulus check. Give it to us. That's all. Continuing resolution, give us a $2,000 stimulus check. Now, you want to take it up a notch, then you want to advocate to these legislators, pick up the phone and call them. Time crunch is upon us. We now have a time crunch. Add Leahy to this mix. What are you going to add in the discussion? What you're going to say is, hey, Build Back Better Act was supposed to be done months ago. Hasn't been done. And we've had your back. We were supposed to get checks months ago. Hasn't happened. So give us a check now because we've had your back. And this does not replace Build Back Better Act. It just gives you a check right now. It mirrors what we went over in 2020. Into 2020, we had December upon us, the holidays, but we also had those 2 Senate Georgia seats. And the Democrats wanted to pick up the seats, the Republicans wanted to pick up the seats, and no one wanted to lose their seats. So we pushed, I said, give us a check to keep those seats. It's much the same situation right now. The midterm election's right around the corner, so it's push and ensure they spend the money on us. Now, let's go over the other breaking news. You know how Home LA rocks and rolls. I'm zooming through this because there's a lot today. And I have a lot to go over with what's happening on a very robust news day, especially before I even get to the Ukrainian developing details. CR for Stimulus 2 and 3.0, not as fast as an inherent deadline. This is going well, though. Pieces of economic legislation are being passed in the House. The first one by Pete Aguilar sent to the Senate. And the Republican senators, yeah, you heard me right, Republican senators want to merge them together and get them out the door because Republicans want to show that they're dealing with inflation as much as the Democrats are. No inherent deadline of that one. But the one that makes me most geared up right behind CR for Stimulus 1.0 is, you know the letters, SS 300. What is SS 300, SS 400, SS 200? The concept is very simple. Trying to raise your benefits up a couple $100s a month. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, and veterans benefits. Where did it come from? It came from Elizabeth Warren in a campaign promise in 2020, where running for president, she said she was going to raise your benefits up a lot, short term, 6 to 12 months, $200 a month. And then she was going to do other things, remove the asset cap, remove the income cap, remove the marriage penalty via act of Congress. She withdrew her run for president, and then Joe Biden says, I like Elizabeth's policies, I'll do them. He ran on that platform, $2 a month, won the general election. Then, in his transition papers as president-elect at joebiden.com, he wrote he was going to give you $200 more per month and said you were in desperate need then. At that time, December 2020, there was no inflation, folks. Well, what did he do? Nothing. He didn't do anything about it. And Democratic senators says that's not bueno. We're going to do it as a fifth stimulus recon. I covered it all last year, and that didn't get done either. So 3 weeks ago, and actually now 2 weeks ago, I brought on this channel the creation, again, for me, SS 300. How does Joe Biden do this? A simple phone call to the Social Security Administrator, and you've been doing really well on social media, pushing, saying, replace COLA with inflation. Replace COLA with inflation, because if you do it 30 days out from now, You'd have $200 more per month on your check. And the way inflation is looking by December of this year, you'll get another $100 by about January next year. That'd be SS 300. And then the way inflation generally is it goes up 2% every year. You get another $40 a year after that, SS 400. Well, what's the breaking news on this that's brand new today? The breaking news on this comes out of here, Southern California again. Yeah, it comes out of Southern California, actually a little bit up the coast. The breaking news comes out of one of the members of the Federal Reserve speaking in Santa Barbara about where he believes inflation's going in the next 30 to 60 days. Your boy you're watching right now was the only one that got the number right last year. Everyone said that inflation was going to be 1% to 2%, 3% in December. I said, It's going to be 8%. They said, it's going to be temporary and transitory. I said, it's not going to be temporary. And then it came in at 7.5% last month, December month. I then taught you how to track it yourself. Figure out inflation before I report to you. Go to the market, and every time you buy the eggs, buy the same brand, same quantity, same market, is it going up 10 cents? You're going to see inflation before I see it to you. Well, what happened? What happened is that most of us, you and I, didn't think that inflation went down last month. And we're just a few days away from the next inflation number. It would be the pure inflation number for January 2021. It comes out of 2022. It comes out a month later. But between the days before it comes out, we get inflationary gauge numbers, which shows us where that number is coming in. And what happened with Christopher Waller, who is Federal Reserve Governor in Santa Barbara just hours ago? He believes that inflation will remain, there's a quote, I expect inflation will remain elevated and only show modest signs of deceleration over the next few months. Breaking news, folks. So he's saying what I said last month and the month before. I don't see inflation getting worse, but I don't see it going down right away. I think it's going down later this year. This is big because if your benefits were changed from COLA to inflation right today, you go up $200. You're going to get that good number if Joe Biden makes a phone call. Then we go into these FOMC meetings that are starting this coming March 15th to 16th. 5 meetings this year. Will there be 5 interest rate spikes in 5 meetings? Most analysts think if it's 7, it's going to be a shocker. No bueno. And the first meeting was initially supposed to be a quarter basis point. And then there was talk of a half basis point, which is a lot more severe to deal with inflation. But because of the situation in Ukraine and Russia, many analysts, including even the comments by Waller, says no. I think the 15th will be quarter basis. My prediction, quarter basis. So this is good news for you that all Joe Biden has to do is pick up the phone. So you've been really good on social media. Pick up the phone, Joe. Call the Social Security Administrator, replace COLA with inflation, and give millions of Americans what you promised in a time of running for president when there was no inflation. You said we needed $200 urgently to survive. Well, guess what? That is now 2 years ago. We haven't gotten a penny yet. And the situation now, we have inflation. Some states, 12%, like Florida. So do it right now. This is the second item on the horizon. Again, CR for stimulus 1.0, just a few days away. Then this could be done 30 days after that. The president can also repurpose sums of money and get those sums of money out to you right across the board. But the president has done some really other breaking, developing details in the last few hours, and I'm going to give them to you right now. These help you a lot, folks. And where does it help? The price of items you're buying. And it's led from the price of gasoline at the pump. If you drive, you're going to feel the benefit. If you don't drive, you're still going to feel the benefit because the stuff that's brought into the supermarket is based upon the price of gasoline. Here's another number I need you to know on this channel. I'll be staying on point for you, and this is breaking news you're only hearing on this channel right now. The breaking news is that the way you deal with gasoline prices going high is release more gasoline in supply. And the federal government, the United States government, overnight got more countries to release more of its stockpiled, saved up gasoline, to release theirs like we're releasing ours to get the price down. Concept is very simple. If there's a shortage of gasoline, price goes up. If there's a lot of gasoline, price goes down. So the federal government, U.S. Joe Biden, overnight got China, India, Japan, South Korea, UK to also release some of its oil from storage. Where's ours stored? In the lobster room. Yeah, you walk in, there's lobster shorts hanging in the front door, and there's like no one will ever think that there's gasoline behind there, but it is, and that's how we protect it. So you just go in there and you look behind, oh, there it is. There's a gasoline. You know. About as fashionable as lobster shorts. And so the release of this gasoline from these other countries is great news. It's brand new today. We're actively working with countries around the world to evaluate the collective release of it's called the Strategic Petroleum Reserves of the major energy consuming countries. And the United States is doing what we can quickly. Where are we looking at for numbers? So I need you to know these numbers. Why? First, let me tell you I don't want to scare you. I don't want to scare you, but I need to tell you the why we stay on point for this. The Federal Reserve, Jay Powell, he deals with inflation. But for gasoline, it's the White House. White House has to do with gasoline. And if you have gasoline out of control, this is what happens. A bad problem. First, you have unemployment. Then you have potentially stagflation. Then you potentially have a recession. Then you have the U.S. economy shrinking. And you can't just have it happening here. You can also have it happening in other countries. So all the other countries are dealing with the same issue at the same time. You don't want to have 20 countries go under because we'll be hurt as well. So what are we looking for numbers? I want you to know these numbers. We're looking at hovering about $100 a barrel gasoline. This is not something you're going to pay. This is what they pay at the pump. The president got it down to about 94, they now say in new reports today, when he released this oil last week. We were hovering at about a little bit over 105 when Russia invaded Ukraine. Why? Because Russian oil out of the pipeline, Ukrainian oil out of the pipeline. So now we're trying to hold it about $100 for 6 months. We think we can do that. That's sustainable. Bad news is 125, 135 is not sustainable. So we want to stay away from that. We're not ending there yet, but at the moment we're good. The White House has done 2 other things as well. It's now vowing to criminally prosecute any U.S. manufacturer that seeks to stick us with big prices at the pump. And more importantly, this is a huge one. Joe Biden thinks we can get a nuclear treaty done with Iran very quicker, faster than initially thought. And if that's the case, then millions of barrels of gasoline will be released into our supply chain, bringing down the price of gasoline at the pump. This is all about your money, and this is very important. Now, here's the timeline of each of these different stimulus packages, because I know it sounds like a lot, because it is. CR for stimulus 1.0, the social spend, the federal budget bill, that is just a few days away. That's number one. Second, Joe Biden can do this SS300 just right away. He should do it. It makes no sense not to do it. Number three, he can repurpose sums of money right away and get out money, and there is lots of money sitting around. No inherent guidance on that matter at the moment. Number four, the SS200 and SS300 are sitting in the Senate. If they get their feet running, they can get them out really quickly because they have bipartisan support. And these midterm elections are different because the midterm elections now show that Republicans and Democrats both think that the way they get votes is give you money, because the economy is tinkering on big economic inflationary problems. And voters will only vote for someone who does something now, not promises to do something. And then Build Back Better Act is on the horizon. But what I want you to know is that I'm here to get you money today. Not 5 weeks from now, not 5 months from now, not 5 years from now. It's money right today. And where do you get it? Well, viewers of this channel have gotten it every single day this week. And I'm going to go over the success stories right now. It is third stimulus. Third stimulus is still paying out viewers thousands of dollars. Would you like to go in by the end of the day with an extra $10,000 in your hand? How about you get it? What is third stimulus? Third stimulus was passed in January 2021. And at the time, my viewers were already prepared for it because I had prepared and educated them on it the months earlier when it was part of the end of second stimulus. It's rent, utilities, mortgages, food. It's available in every city, every county, every state, and the nonprofits help pay for it for you as well. And viewers are getting another round this week. Brand new today. Charles Garman says, hey, I got another $1,000 for energy assistance today. Great. That's $1,000. He started the day at not that money, and he ended the day with $1,000 in his hand. Karen Phillips, her day was even better. She says, I lost all my jobs. I didn't know what I was going to do to pay my utilities or rent, but I got contacted by an organization in my area, and I got rent utilities. I got 3 months of rent and 3 months of utilities. LA, you're amazing. And congratulations. Hope you get those jobs as well. The average payout that viewer get is generally about 3 to 5 months. So what I want you to do is I want you to get the rent and all utilities. So don't just get one utilities. I'll go over those rounds in a second. But how do you get it? Pull out that membership newsletter, but follow along and take notes with me right now, because here's the revamped look at it. You can reach out to your city hall, city house authority, county hall, county house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. And there's 3 musts you must do. You must reach out to all 6 places. You must put multiple applications to file, and you must do multiple rounds. I'll go over those in a second. Open that membership newsletter. It comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Become a member. The link is under the video. And rely on those nonprofits, because those nonprofits really pick up the tab when you may have problems at the county or state level. Do it today. The average viewer of the channel has gotten $45,000 from any of these rounds of money. We're going to go over those rounds in just a second and get that money today. Don't wait. This is money. You can get it. Do it today. All right, let's go over those rounds. What are we talking about with these rounds? So 3 to 5 months is generally what people get. And most viewers got that first round, which was when it became a law, January, February, March. Then they got the summer. Then they got the winter. If you've had a success story, send it to me on private message. I'll feature it live on air. And viewers are saying, hey, I got a second round, which means they got 1 round before on this channel, generally 3 to 5 months, and then they got another round. So here are some of the new comments that came in yesterday. Brian Donahue says, hey, I got a second round for another 5 more months. So this is good. 5 is on the high end, and it's a second round. So he may have gotten 3 rounds the first round, 3 months of rent the first time. Now he's got another 5 months. If you're in the live chat, I know that people have gotten this money before. You can get it again. You haven't gotten it before, get it now. It's available. We had Bob Bacon. He got 3 more months of rent. And then we had Nisi. She's been a long-time viewer, and she got $30,000, $40,000 when it came out. She got another $10,000 this week. And here is Karen, who got $40,000 this week as well. So this is how we do it. We get big money on this channel. Now, in the second half of this video, we are going to go over brand new details of what's happening in Ukraine and Russia and how it impacts your wallet. It's big financial developing details and the latest from the battleground. Then we'll be going over a little bit more of what is anticipated this coming week in face of the latest threats from Vladimir Putin and how it impacts your wallet. We'll be looking at what we talked about yesterday because viewers really liked it. How to learn about what's really happening on the battleground from the people that are there. I'm not talking about U.S. reporters. I'm talking about people that live and work in Ukraine and the official statement from the government. Also, people really resonate well to yesterday's discussion about how to search online and get whatever you want to get that shows your allegiance for Ukraine. Of all those incredible details and the breaking news, it's a lot of it. Oh boy. It's coming up in the second half of what has happened in the last few hours. We got a big second half today, folks. I'm excited you're here. Stay back with me. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues right now as we go into a big second half of Home LA with the latest developing details from the ground in Ukraine and also the details that impact your wallet back at home. We have a lot going on in the second half, and I'm excited you're here, but let's go right into the breaking details right off the board. CR for Stimulus 1.0 is teed up first, and then we have the opportunity for the SS300 that will raise your benefits up across the board. We have CR for Stimulus 2 and 3, and then we, of course, have the exciting details of Build Back Better. But I want to go into the latest developing details that are unfolding in Ukraine and Russia that are brand new in the last few minutes, and boy, it is a lot of stuff to digest. First, the United States government was able to really dedicate a lot of resources to Ukraine to battle Russia after it was stalled out initially. This is not your money, so they're not taking your money to reallocate it to Russia. This is the defense spending bill. It has helped because guess what? The news coming in from Ukraine overnight is really great. First, the second largest city in Ukraine, Kharkiv, has been held and has not fallen to Russia. Russia was trying to take the second largest city in the country of Ukraine and failed again. And the control of Ukraine is completely in our hands. Armed forces of Ukraine, the National Police, the Territorial Defense Forces are working. They're cleaning the city of the enemy, said Oli Shtanovov in a statement released to the BBC, which was verified by independent sources from the West. It is actually true that Vladimir Putin's efforts to take the second largest city in Ukraine failed as well. Then what else is happening when we talk about the battleground in Ukraine and Russia? Well, flights out from the United States to Russia have been halted. Lufthansa said Saturday it's suspending all flights to Russia for the next 7 days until the situation settles down. And Discount Air Wizz Air said on Friday that it was not going to fly anymore in Ukraine unless it's trying to get out nationals. And Royal Dutch Airlines is halted all flights unless they're U.S. citizens trying to get them out because they were there for work. If you want to support Ukraine, there's all different ways to do it. And one of the ways is simply buying a t-shirt. I Stand With Ukraine is the expression that is leading the hashtag campaign. I stand with Ukraine. You can go on social media. Yesterday, I featured a lot on this channel, and you can go on your platforms. You just search and see where it lands. Now, to learn about the latest developing details on the ground, I encourage you to follow LA at Twitter because I'm retweeting the official statements from the Ukrainian ministry and also from independent reporters that work and live in Ukraine for their local newspapers. Now, some of them tweet in English, like this individual, and other people, like the government, tweet in their native language. But in the case of a tweet, you can click the tweet, and underneath it, you can translate it via the benefits of Twitter. What are the other breaking news across the board? Well, this is a huge one, folks, is that protests are growing across this landscape of Russia. Russian citizens are going to the streets and calling for the stop of these active aggressions. This is after Ukrainian government has now accepted Bitcoin and Ethereum donations, and those numbers, first detailed on this channel yesterday, have grown from $3 to $10 million of donations to help battle Russia overnight. The total donations are amounting to 10.2 billion to 20.2 million, and they're led by Elliptic, and again, it's only Bit and Ethereum. The big news that I'm very excited for, which I had urged for on social media for over 5 days, is Swift. What is Swift? Swift is the way you transfer funds
internationally. It's in US dollars. If you have a direct express card by Comerica, for example, in the United States, you receive your direct deposit, a check for benefits every month. It's domestic. This is not SWIFT. That's like an ACH, direct deposit. But if you were to send funds from one country to another country overseas, you would likely use SWIFT. Well, initially, the federal governments of the Western Alliance were trying to kick Russia out of SWIFT, and they couldn't get agreement. And I said, this is no bueno. Come on, move, get them out. And finally, they got the deal done. Germany and the Western allies agreed overnight to kick Russia out of SWIFT. This is huge because that means the Russian central bank cannot transfer funds out of Russia or receive funds in there. It cannot get donations. It cannot send military resources to the military outside of where it is. And also, its billionaire oligarchs cannot get their money out of the country. Those billionaire oligarchs are often called golden passports. This will end the, quote, golden passports for wealthy Russian billionaires and the families who are trying to flee Russia with billions that they got in the hands of Vladimir Putin and come to the States, like certain cities in Los Angeles and certain cities in Miami. And the country stressed that the willingness to take further measures should Russia end this attack. We're not done with that. So that's great news across the board on that front. Now, when we look and see what's happening in the streets of Russia, Russian citizens who are not billionaires have taken to the streets of Russia saying, you know what? These active aggressions need to stop. And those protests are starting to grow. I would hope that more of the protests in the United States grow against the Russian oligarchs that are among us. And there's calls for such Russian oligarchs to divest themselves of their ownership of items. I've been very critical on social media, on Twitter, you can follow me on LA, that Russian oligarchs, what is a Russian oligarch, by the way? It is a billionaire whose funds often derive from doing business deals with Vladimir Putin in a dictatorship environment, come to the United States, buy real estate at 10 to 20 times the price of its going rate, and often buy into U.S. businesses or foreign businesses. I'm not going to name names, but we all know who's at issue. The protest against Russian oligarchs in our back door hasn't started yet, but I really think it needs to because they have investments in media companies, Hollywood studio, certain independent studios, sports teams, and similar. And these acts of aggression should cause them to think again about where they are. Now, let's go to the latest other details. I want to go over what's happening in the situation on the battleground. So, as you know, if you're watching this recording at the time of its airing, which is 11:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, well, just right before noon today, as opposed to watching later today on our evening replay, the situation in the small town of Vaskiviv, which is just outside of Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, is getting very tense right now, folks. It is getting very tense. As you know, I've been reporting since Thursday. Vladimir Putin was trying to take the capital of Ukraine by Saturday, failed. By Saturday and Sunday, he was still about 18 miles outside the capital of Kyiv. Well, where is the battle right now? And the battle is right in a small town outside of Kyiv. And the town is currently surrounded by Russian forces. The mayor, the concern is that there is more troops coming. How many troops has Vladimir Putin dedicated, but how many has he rolled out? He has dedicated 100,000 troops, Russian troops, but has only deployed 50,000. Some of the tanks have pulled over to the side of the road because they've run out of gasoline. No joke. But the blockades are starting to take a formative hold against some Ukrainians. We cannot do this because we always are getting blocked. Right now, we are encircled. Is a latest statement coming out minutes ago, just seconds ago, from Associated Press by Mayor Vitaly Gizenko, saying that Kyiv is now surrounded by Russian forces. This is February 27th at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. This is as many situations are changing by the hour. The president of Ukraine, Zelensky, has been defiant for 85 consecutive hours to not succumb to any pressure. There is an offer that reportedly has been tendered by Belarus, neighboring Belarus, to have Zelensky meet and discuss a plan. The position on that offer is a very fluid situation, so I don't want to really mess it up. I don't want to really mess it up because these are people interpreting other people's words, and I don't want to really misstate it. But there's an offer for that discussion. The battleground towns right at issue right now are Kharkiv, Kiev, and Kherson, and Russian forces are advancing very strongly. The bigger concerns for our standpoint is also not only our money, but also our troops. Viewers have asked me, where are our troops? Where are our troops? So let me explain to you. Your sons and daughters, your neighbors' sons and daughters are not battling on the ground in Ukraine at the moment and are not likely to at any time in the near future. Why? Because the agreement of the NATO countries is that they will defend the NATO countries, and Ukraine is not a NATO country. That's a whole other video as to why NATO has not, why Ukraine is not a NATO country yet. But the issue is your sons and daughters are not going into Ukraine. Where are they? They're in the neighboring states that are NATO states, and they're with NATO alliance troops from other NATO countries. They are safe. That's what I want to tell to you and your sons and daughters and people who have family members or know someone down the street that has some people deployed overseas, where they're in the neighboring states that are NATO alliance states. Would they be engaged in any act of combat? Only at the moment if Vladimir Putin advances into those NATO countries. He has not. He, by all accounts, has not even put forces anywhere near those NATO countries at all. So you are safe. Now, he has expressed very, very troubling acts of aggression, statements of aggression in the last 24 hours. The most recent one came just a few minutes ago where he said, if you keep it up, I'm going to use, I'm putting nuclear alerts at the highest risk level. These words are very hard to translate, so I don't want to make it any more scarier than it is. That is the first one. The second one is he threatened two neighboring countries. That was sort of buffoonery. You can threaten whoever you want to threaten. And the reason he was threatening them was because they were vowing to go into NATO themselves. So the situation for you and your sons and daughters is fine at the moment. Let's talk about let's talk about the refugees, which is a very, very big issue, and there's a lot of different words when we use these expressions. If you were on Twitter and social media last night and following LALATE, because these stories really happen in the nighttime in U.S. time because we are time delayed, Los Angeles versus Europe. The story was a lot of wonderful, educated young people from Nigeria couldn't get out of Ukraine because they were there on a study visa, our version of a study visa, to learn and be educated. And then the tensions erupted and they couldn't get out. So Poland has been issuing on the Polish embassy website, and I've been tweeting them and putting them on the LA Twitter, on the LA Instagram account as well, the official Polish statement about helping Africans stranded in the battleground and trying to get to the Polish border. It's great because they are actually releasing phone numbers saying, hey, here are our phone numbers, get over to the Polish border, we will be ready there, we will take care of you. I got to tell you, on a personal level, I want you to always stay with the lead source. I don't want you to go with secondary sources or third sources. This is a tense time. Why? Because even while the Polish embassy was releasing statements on its website, there were some people that were posting on Twitter last night images of a letter that somehow said something opposite than what the Polish embassy website said. I'm not going to go anywhere near that with a 10-foot pole. It is unverified. You need to go to the lead source, the verified source, the embassy, the official embassy website, to say, here is the situation. I had one person, surprisingly, just tweet a viewer overnight saying, we're having problems getting out of here. So if the Purple Power community has any other idea about how to help those situations, that's something I've never confronted on this channel, then certainly send me a private message across the board. The situation in the next 5 days is going to be very compounded because we have a lot going on. We have the issue of whether Vladimir Putin will topple any of those Ukrainian cities. And then what? If he takes one city, he ain't taking the country. And if he takes one city, then what happens after that? Does he head to the next country? And the situation is very, very fluid across the board. The tensions at home in Russia to oust him are growing. And the tensions here in the United States to oust Russian oligarchs who have profited on this dictatorship regime for decades and living amongst us and buying into our businesses is also something that needs to be discussed more heavily. It's just not being talked about as big as it should be on social media. Finally, if you see a subject that is related to this that I've missed, send it to me, because I gotta tell you, it is a very unusual environment in which we have social media so connected that you literally can have someone on the battleground sending you a message of what happened to a tank 5 feet away, and me or you being able to read it on the other side of the world at the same moment. Who would know in a digital era like this that we have that level of reporting? No disrespect to any of the news reporters from the United States organizations who are on the ground overseas, but sometimes I watch the reporting and it's like 7-8 hours delayed. You know, all I have to do is open a Twitter account of these people that are there and see what's happened in the last few minutes. I want you to stay with the primary sources. Overnight, Australia, which doesn't play games, yanked the Russian immediate state-owned news agency off the airways, yanked them off. Yesterday, I told you that the Chinese news agency, and folks, these are agencies I've followed for years. You know, they generally are good, but now during this time of aggression, they're turning to propaganda machines. They yanked them. They were posting this insane propaganda 2 days ago. So I want you to stay with the primary sources when dealing with these items, and do not succumb into presuming that something you saw online is necessarily true. Show your allegiance. Please speak up. Please engage. Please do not live in a your only environment. We are all descended of immigrants. We all came from other places, and we all have to have our hearts and our prayers open for these people, because this may just be the first of other stops for Vladimir Putin thereafter. I stand with Ukraine. You should stand as well. Stop Russia, stop Putin, and stay with LA for more as the continuing coverage continues throughout the day. If you're watching this live on air at noontime, coming up next is the 1 o'clock edition of Afternoons LA, and a brand new Afternoons LA at 3 o'clock. If you're watching the evening edition of this, then coming up next is Evenings Extra. A lot of new shows throughout the day, broadcasting direct from Santa Monica, California. Stay informed, stay focused. Follow me on Twitter and social media. Send me private messages if there's something you want to have added to the coverage, and stay with LA for more.